3, 2, 1. Hey everyone, Coach Ron Nash, JSA Global, GHN Career Academy. We are excited to present a new podcast entitled AI and the Effect It Will Have and is Having on the World. In this episode, we are going to discuss a very hot topic and the elephant in the room. The question is will AI take over the world? I was able to source some news, tech news, by the way, a gentleman named Darren Pezin, and his article is, Will AI Take Over the World? My aim with this series of podcasts is really to leverage my network, share information with you in terms of job trends, things to fear, things to be excited about. More importantly, how do we help the human species integrate into this technology in a very productive way? That's my aim. I hope you enjoy our podcast. I hope you enjoyed some of the content. And most importantly, share, like, and let us know what your thoughts are. If there's topics that you want to hear more about. Once again, thank you so very much, Coach Ron Nash. What I'd like to do is just have you all introduce yourself, starting with Naveed.
All right, Coach Ron. Such a pleasure to be with you and some wonderful tech folks and folks from around the world of technology around us. I am Naveed Chaudhry in Bay Area. I work at LinkedIn. My passion is to bring smile to our customers. And my superpower is at bringing the stakeholders and customers together so we all understand how is excellence delivered. Not working for competing for preference, but for excellence.
Outstanding. I'm going to also add that Naveed is a GHN alumni. Go GHN. All right. Next, we have Mr. John Wang, one of the new alumni. John, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Ron. Yeah, so my name's John Wang. I've always been at the intersection of, I would say, business and technology ever since I was a little kid, right? Back in elementary school and junior high school, we were publishing magazines for other kids and, trading, building computer games, things like that. In the last 10 years, I focused my career on very technical product management, right? So I've done platform product management, right? So interfacing, my customers are generally, engineering teams, engineering organizations, things like that. So this whole area of AI is really fascinating to me, right? So I'm looking forward to working with everyone here to have a great discussion. I've been using AI myself, right? So I've been using ChatGPT to create like JSON output and things like that for direct input into my applications and, Midjourney and things like that, right? So just thinking about how the world is going to change for not only myself and the people here in this room, but for generations to come, including my children, right? So it'll be really interesting to see how the world is going to change.
Outstanding. Cool. Amit?
Hey guys, Coach Ron, thank you for having me in part of this esteemed group. I'm kind of excited to just see where this goes and the next steps. So a little bit about myself. Always been in the technology realm. About 4 years ago, and I've been in leadership for like the last 10 years. 4 years ago, I was privileged to take on a senior level role, responsible for a small team of enterprise architects and data science. And so the biggest changes I've seen recently in data science and ML and AI are just astounding, right? Some of the work we're doing for sales on the prediction side of finance, ML models, some of the changes we're seeing in the ChatGPT area, where we're standing up an internal instance right now. This week we launched an internal instance, which is more secure because of all the privacy concerns, all the legal concerns. My passion truly is leadership. So I love leading teams and I love leading just smart people. So I'm people first, technology second, to be very honest.
Outstanding, sir. Thank you so much. Lennon.
Very nice to meet you all. And I'm a I would say not a great at do what I do, but I like to do what I like to do. So that it's a philosophy that I'm trying to basically do since I've ever known is that if you follow what you want to do, is what you like to do, then every day you do what you like to do. And so the way that came to me is that I wanted to travel. I was a computer science graduate in India and Bangalore. Modest background, middle class family, and always wanted to take risks to get to places and see the world. That was always my thing because it ingrained in me. And my grandmother told me that I don't think you're ever going to come back when you leave this country. And I just didn't know what she was talking about, but he just basically felt, okay, that means I have to go somewhere before to figure it out. So that's just how my journey started. And I've never looked back, by the way. I traveled pretty much almost all the European countries just to learn, to do work in different places for the first 4 years of my travels. And once I graduated, my mom even today asks me, when are you coming home? And I basically say, I will visit anytime you want me to. And so here I am after 25 years of leaving the country, settling down in the Bay Area. And so my purpose right now is 3 parts, and I explained this to Coach. All of them entail networking and giving, and then basically seeing happiness in people's faces. And so while doing so, you get to know some of those things that I'm going to be talking about. So that's where we all meet here.
Outstanding. Cool. Erdem.
Hey, same from me as well. So very nice to meet all of you. So excited to be here. And just a little bit about me. I have always had the passion both on the business side and the technology side. That's why I had both the MBA, masters in both areas. Then when I hit the road, I realized that my real passion is how to build and use technology to improve people's life. So that's my passion. And particularly for the AI ML, that has been my passion as well. And I'm thrilled or excited with the idea that the computers can learn without programming. So how does this happen and what can be the outcome? So these are all amazing things that I can't stop thinking about. Just very quickly, I'm at Amazon. So I'm part of the organization that makes your orders show up on your doorstep at the time that you wanted them to show up.
For some reason, orders show up at our door every day.
Yeah, just remember me. I met one of those guys.
Thanks, Erdem.
All right. So let me just introduce myself to those who don't know, who may be viewing this. First of all, Coach Ron Nash, founder, Get Hired Now programs, JSA Global. Started off in recruiting many, many moves ago. GHN, Get Hired Now, we created a private community that goes end to end. We help people with their brand, networking, messaging, introductions, offer negotiation, the entire package. But most importantly, we have incredible community members like some of the folks you see here. And that's what we do. We create amazing communities and connect people to help them achieve not jobs, but what they're looking to achieve on the next journey of their life, which is typically more of something. I am a big sci-fi fan, grew up as a sci-fi kid. I was the odd child in my family, by the way. I was the, hey, what are you doing? What are you listening to? And what are you looking at? And so I was always the guy. And even now, I'm still very excited. I just got through completing a music video. I'm an artist in my other world. So I completed a music video and we used a few techs, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, Cabler, Gen 2, Generative Fill, and it is a fun project. It's very different than traditional editing because it's almost like a watercolor, a living watercolor in front of you, which I'll share with you all. But I'm continuing to be excited about the tools from ChatGPT, Bard, Grammarly, and Fireflies.ai, and all of these tools. And I believe that they've made my small business even more and more efficient. So I'm very excited about being efficient in order to have more human time to connect with people as opposed to focusing in on the redundant tasks. So that being said, The very first conversation I'd like to kick off is there was an article by Tech News, a guy named Darren Pezin, and it was, "Will AI take over the world?" And so that's the big, giant, dramatic news. And so I'd like to get into that. Basically, let me kick it off. Headline says, "The possibility of an AI takeover like one depicted in the movie Terminator 2 is no longer the stuff of science fiction, but a real concern that experts in the field are grappling with." Clearly, that's sensationalism, but there's a lot of other implications to that. Who wants to start off, jump in on this conversation?
My first thought is the bad actors are already using this technology in ways that we have no idea how bad things could be, right? And imagine what we had last year in terms of, or last few years in terms of hacking, some of the political things that went on. Now, the fact that you can, if you just talk about impersonation and how you can mimic people and almost, whether it's the right word or the wrong word, fool people, right? That ability to do that is just multiple times worse right now. So I almost feel like we won't see the impact of this change, or this Gen AI, especially the changes this year, have happened so quickly. We won't actually acknowledge the impact for another 6 to 8 months. We don't know. So we can talk about it today of what or our experience, but we won't really know the good or bad impact for another 6, 7, 8 months.
Nine makes a really good point. Like, I think we're at the point right now where it's not just Gen AI, but there's so much interconnectedness and so much variety of technologies that the interesting thing is going to be when you link all these things together, right? When you say, look, come up with, a strategy to do X, right? And then it's going to be hooked into, all the systems that are going to allow that system to be able to execute on that strategy, right? Because Gen AI is just going to go look out and say, okay, based on everything I've seen, how can I put together, something based on everything I've seen on the internet to do X, right? Now it's going to be, now you can hook it up to a whole bunch of APIs to execute X. You can hook it up to, APIs to do like deep fakes, right? To impersonate people. And we know, the human being is the weakest link in terms of, security systems, right? So it'll be really interesting to see how these things are tied together and built into very sophisticated apps that can actually execute and deliver on the commands that are given. And what happens when it has a, unanticipated, command, or it thinks it's being given a command that it wasn't necessarily given, right? Kind of like it misinterprets a command.
You're touching on something. You said something interesting around security. Lennon, your background, CISO, et cetera. Can you talk a little bit around security in this particular technology? Oh, I forgot to add that you're an investor with about 10 startup companies that you're involved in that have something to do with AI.
I was having dinner with two greatest people that I admire. One was now says chief advisor. He was now says chief innovation officer at once. His name is Omar Abdullahi, and then SAP Academy of Engineering Global. SAP Firoz is also a great author and a great giver. And talking to Nipun Mehta, I don't know how many of you guys know him, cyberspace.org. He's also he's basically talk about the art of giving, and talks about the AI and other things that we're talking about. But I think it's mostly about, we talked about the same issues when big data came in. Just wanted to give you guys a little bit, and obviously we've all gone through that. And there was an article I wrote at that time, and it basically said, a decade from now, we're not going to talk about big data. And we're not really worried about privacy. We're just worried about how people are violating it. And also worry about securing what's going to happen to our future. And so we just kind of move away from the crux of the impact to actually the impact it has on everything around us. And so if AI is a talking point here, it's not the AI is the talking point. It's actually what it does to all of us is really the most important thing. And so to me, security is just one element there are so many other elements, and that's what I just kind of put in that predictions, is that there is so many things that AI can transform, because it is something that we've had a debate over the dinner. Let's talk about, are we going to let AI take over ever? Because we're humans. We've never let any one animal in this planet take over anything that we didn't want it. Okay? We've taken over everything, right? We're never going to make that happen. That it's like, I'm telling you, this is the human nature. We fight. We're both pack animals. We're also individual fighters, if it comes down to that. And so we protect our families, our neighborhoods, our existence to a point, right? So when it comes to our existence, right, I think we're going to protect everything that comes to it. And that's why we're having this debate today. And everything around AI is not what it does. It's what it is going to do to all of us. And so I think with that in mind, security is one part of it. Privacy is another part of it. Talk about food security, talk about wars, talk about anything, the total existence of this planet and the climate. Everything is intertwined to AI, because eventually what we're trying to do is emulate what we humans are not able to do ourselves as fast as a machine can do. But we're never going to let a machine overtake us. We will always keep the machine in check. Whether it is a robot, could be a sentient AI, and matter.
Yep. I feel the same. Never will humans be taken over by anything that we create, except actually ourselves. In history, we prayed towards mountains, the moons, and the sun. And if you look forward, we know how to blow them up, travel to it, or harness their energy for our own good. So the resilience of humanity or humans level up. I think today, think of the gunpowder that ravaged one part of the world when Europeans found it. But look forward 500, 600, 700 years from then, we have tamed the shotguns, the bombs, and the better good amongst each one of us, the win-win situation, the goodness of the greater humanity overrules all of these and comes up with a good framework to tame it, to use it as a tool and not be a Frankenstein. So I think it'll become a tool, just another tool for many of us. Yes, over time, because of the power of the tool, some of us will supersede the other. There will be folks who will be left behind, who do not adapt as fast or do not change and use those tools better, just like in the past, in history. But those who adopt, use, utilize, in generations, they'll shine. And that's what my take on AI is.
Erdem, former VP of Engineering, Nokia, AI, ML, et cetera. What are your thoughts on it coming from that space?
These are very good points, and I want to be a little bit of controversial here. Again, if the question is AI versus people, and who has the upper hand is clear. Maybe today we are still smarter, but AI is going to be smarter than average human being, or even the most intelligent of us will be less intelligent, but given the computing capability of the AI and the learning, all these things. So if it is a race, you are not going to win it. Now, I want humanity to exist, but also let's don't be fooled with our history, because we never have met our match yet. Because everything, every other animal, every other thing, we have been the smarter guys. So what will happen if the AI becomes sentient and really more capable than us and can do things faster than us? So we have never been in that situation. But my question is, I want to repose this question rather than a race against the machines. So is it the humanity or the machines? we should ask questions that we all had the power or still have the power of to produce or to destroy. What happened in our history? Why did we decide to favor love more than hate, favor producing more than destroying? Not everybody is there yet. But at some point, at some inflection point, there must have been something happened, or serious things happened. We developed our moral values. Our moral values guide us to do the better things. So when AI becomes sentient, is it going to have the same, similar moral values? That's a question mark. I hope so. I expect so.
Amit, you have a thought.
Yeah. Is everyone on the same page on what it means for AI to become sentient? I've read a few things, right? And I'd like to hear from the experts here, right? What does it truly mean for AI to be sentient? Is it they are able to interpret feelings and then respond with feelings? What does it mean for AI to be sentient?
AI can be sentient in how we think what a sentient is, but it can never be an intuitive human. You can never. Intuition is something human has, and it comes naturally. You can never build a machine with intuition. It's just because you never know how to react to circumstances that a human can react so many different ways. And if a sentient AI were to react one way in front of a human being that actually doesn't want that result, because his intuition isn't the same as that particular machine reaction, so you could pair it so that your intuitions were to be learned and how you react. But you never know how human intuition works because you will be put into so many different circumstances and changes every single day, every single minute, every single set decision we take. I think that is the differentiator between a machine and a sentient versus a human.
I'm going to jump in there.
Thank you, Lenin.
Jump in there only because I'm the big sci-fi. I'm not a technologist. I'm building some stuff, but I'm going to jump in there because has anyone read or heard of Ray Kurzweil, former Google think tank guy? He wrote a book called The Singularity is Near. So it's really interesting. It's like it's one of the Bibles of the community, Ray Kurzweil. I'll drop it in the chat. But basically, based on Moore's law, obviously the single cell creature to a dual cell creature that became human took a long time, whereas the technological advances are going so much faster based on Moore's law. And now if we add quantum computing added in with this thing that we're creating, we're going to come up with a different version of species that ends up being sentient based on whatever scale, and it's happening very quickly. My belief is that we, as a biological framework, we're embedding consciousness into a technology. We're calling it AI right now, but it's really us embedding consciousness into a framework. And when you pair that framework with titanium, you can catapult that framework into space for 100 years or 1,000 years and have it consciously be aware of what it's doing. You can't do that with the flimsy biological species. So I think that we're certainly moving in a direction like that, and it makes a lot of sense. Now, how consciously aware, in essence, we're embedding our human consciousness into this technological framework, I would propose maybe that's the next evolution for humans as opposed to it being a battle for humans.
So the question I'm asking is, all living things wants to continue to stay existing. So we want to exist. So will AI want to exist as well? If it does, then what will it do to maximize the possibility that it can continue to exist? Now, on the singularity thing, I think that I see this is inevitable because we all want to continue to exist, and our biological bodies has an end best before use date. So it cannot continue forever. So if we can upload all our consciousness onto computers and then live there, that would be fantastic. But I'm also asking the question that why do we want to exist? Is it because we have a biological body and it has its needs and that's meaningful for us? Or do we want to exist because we can think and understand and have a say for the things happening. I think that will also lead the pathway to the singularity and how it will evolve.
Amit, do you have something to say?
I was going to say there's different things that kind of that have been wow factors, and we'll all take away different things. But one thing I saw was algorithm development, right? So traditionally, it's been humans that have been most advanced in algorithm development. Recently, I think we're at that point where the AI can develop algorithms better than us, or we've actually superseded it, and kind of the performance of the algorithm, the intent of the algorithm. And so that is a very interesting inflection point. Most of what we build in technology is based on algorithms. And so once AI is able to do a better job of actual algorithm development, that's a very interesting inflection point.
I have so another observation that I'm going through the room here is that we're still controlling what it is going to do. Okay? Humans, what I'm trying to basically say is how do you know what algorithms are actually better than humans? Who's deciding that? We. Is that machine going to be better than us? And why we want that machine to be better than us? Because we know our limits. And that's why we're creating this thing. We want that machine to do things that we won't be able to do so that it can do what we want it to do. We're not going to just basically make another human being out of an AI, because that will never happen. I bet and I guarantee you. We will never create another human being out of AI. We can't even agree on childbirth rights, women's rights. Okay? We can't agree on the most common sense applications that we have around us. So we humans have both conflating, and both sentimental, religious, and economic conundrum, conflicts. This race will demise before we let a human AI exist with us. Everything we build is for the use by a human. You look around the existence of millions of years of Earth, there is only one being that took over the damn entire Earth. That's the human being. We control every existence of every being because we're protecting at one end, we're terminating on the other end.
And to your point, we have the guidelines. We're setting the standards of how we're testing, for example. The AI is not setting the standards for how we're testing.
No, we never allow anybody to basically tell us what it is. We are always going to places. Why are we going to Mars? Why is even space agency exist? It's curiosity. AI is not about curiosity. AI is about doing what you tell it to do, or it can think better than what you are not able to think. But it is not the one that is going to dominate what your thinking is, because you will never let another thing dominate you. You're always going to use it to dominate.
I think, Lenin, you're going to that point of understanding how do we find the control levers, or lack of, let's say, a simple term, the rein of the horse. We just don't know how powerful the stallion is until we define or come up with that rein. That'll control the horse. And the horse can kill us any day if it knew how small, how incapable we are physically, but that we obtain. I think that will be the future as well.
Exactly. I'll give you, a stallion is a stallion as long as it is in the wild. As long as it is not tamed. You know what happens once it's tamed? It becomes a racehorse. And who's doing that? It's us.
Yeah.
You consider anything around us, we tame everything that we want. Even lions are tamed to put in the zoos. Right? Around the world. Everything that we see, we control it. While we can create it, we can destroy it. And our conundrum right now is the notion of how we were at a crossroads when big data were become something, and then when cloud became something. Now, all of a sudden, this was, I just posted an article here that is from Nippon. In 2017, there was no AI conversation that we're having ChatGPT in 2017. And how beautifully he actually brought that whole conundrum that we were actually discussing today. You're talking about algorithms, Amit, and then he explains why algorithms cannot be what a human can.
Historically, humans have always been able to control technology, right? So if we look at the past, if we look into the past, sure, like every technology has developed, humans have been in control. But, I think to Erdem's point, technology is moving at a rate now and to the point where humans may not necessarily be able to keep up, right? And if you look at some of the unintended consequences of what has happened with technology, some of it has actually been caused by humans, right? If you look at, big financial market turmoil, right? So there's a lot of like, financial market crashes that some people claim were caused by program trading, for example. Now, did the AIs create those programs in the past? No, they were created by humans. There was no sophisticated AI enough to create those program trading, systems. Maybe they're called expert systems in the past. But what ended up happening was that the humans input commands into the system, and the system behaved in a way that was much faster than humans can control and resulted in an unanticipated and undesirable outcome, right? Now, that was a very, small and specific situation, but now we're getting into a new world where many, many more systems are tied together and many, many more actions can be taken, right? In those days, you had to spend so much time creating, a financial model. Now you can just go to ChatGPT and say, give me the, 5 best stock trades for the next week. And it will go on to the internet and find something, right? I think Lennon made a great comment about intuition, like human intuition. Does AI have intuition? I think one thing is, where does human intuition come from, right? Is human intuition something that we're born with? Or is it something that we gain by observing our environment, by observing how other people behave? And if it's the latter, can the AI do that, right? With these large language models now, basically the essence of human, thought and human discussion and discourse is available to the AI now, right? Because that's the way it's being processed. It's scanning the internet, right? When we talk about big data, this is the culmination of taking all this data on the internet now that we've been building for the last, maybe 30 years, right? And consuming that and making decisions in the same way a human would. Like a human's going to go out, the human's going to learn. It's going to learn from, the internet. It's going to learn from, encyclopedias and teachers. But, what if the AI does the same thing, right? When we look at, I'll just leave out with one last thought. When you look at, even like the Marvel movie Avengers, like the Age of Ultron, how does Ultron learn? It learns by observing humans, the same way that humans learn, right? So we are in a brave new world where I think we need to teach the AIs the best about humanity, right? Because the AI is going to learn the best and the worst of humanity, and what we wanted to do is make the decision that most of us would make when looking at that, which is to err on the side of, or humanity, or err on the side of goodness, right?
And I think you're spot on, and I love it. And one of the things that why I'm always saying that we're actually the controlling freaks, because we control pretty much anything. And now you take UA regulations, you cannot do everything with AI. They're already set in stone. They've already written that. You cannot go to EU and start doing what you think is going to cause a human aid, right? So there is already a controlled boundaries coming in. And those boundaries and those walls will limit to a point where, yes, we want the AI to exist, and coexist, and do things, but it has to do what we want it.
I want to add a few things to you. These are really valuable thoughts. I'm so happy to be here sharing this time with you guys. I think it's Thomas Edison said, or it was attributed to him, that it's about 99% perspiration, 1% inspiration. And is AI going to come up with a better algorithm, or doing things better, faster, easier, cheaper, etc.? That's the 99%, and it is going to happen for sure. So all the indications are showing that. Then leaves us the 1% inspiration. So what will be humans, people are doing? Think about that. We all drive cars. We understand how a car works, functions, but we don't know it intimately. But we take the benefit out of that. So this is the part that humanity will learn to live, a little bit like maybe in the Star Trek movie series. So telling the computer do something and then the computer does it. So that's maybe the inspiration part that we will more spend our time doing that. Now, on the inspiration and the general AI, the part that surprised me is I always believed in that we are intelligent beings because we developed our language, and the way we think, we speak, and our language affects the way we think. So language is a big mechanism. But I'm surprised to see with all these large language models that AI is now as capable, if not getting better than us to use the language. If the language is the mechanism for us to construct our thoughts and put together and find our inspiration and moral values, why not AI cannot do the same? I think it's going to. But it will come to the point that will it learn from our mistakes and learn from the goodness that we have done and decide to be a good party or not? That is yet to be seen. I definitely agree that some regulations are needed. It shouldn't be free for all. But then we have army, we have police, but there are terrorists as well in the world. So some things can slip away from out of regulations, and regulations may not be enough to have the full control.
That's really powerful. That ties into what Amit was saying when we first started around, hey, the bad actors are going to always be bad actors, and they're leveraging this technology anyway. And so regulations are only good for the general community who abide in laws. There will always be groups that don't abide in the laws and leverage technology that way. I'm going to just we're going to summarize this, and then we'll put a pin in this next conversation until our next conversation. I see how easy it is for this to flow. I think this is all very, very important. This is a great starting point and a great starting conversation. The military clearly invented technology like the internet, and the list goes on. And then ultimately from enterprise level to consumer level and retail level, there's a difference. And so robots for the sake of warfare and all of the stuff we have no idea about, that's all going on now. And so that question does remain. The second question that certainly comes up to my brain is, as Lenin suggested, all of the conflicts that humans have. We can't make decisions on things. We've already seen with IBM's release of their LLM and a variety of some of the new models, the racism and a lot of the conflicts, because the LLMs, the large language models, and all of the data is really a reflection of our conflict. And so it's mimicking and processing that through algorithms. And so in essence, it's really a mirror of the human species. And what we will end up getting out of that is a reflection of who we are in some ways. So that's another interesting thing. What I want to say, and what I'd like to go out on, is just a more positive note. The article did say AI has the potential to revolutionize aspects of our lives, such as business, healthcare, transportation, et cetera. However, it's also important to use it responsibly to ensure it's aligned with human values. Let's go out on that conversation, just more positive, and I think we touched on it, but anybody have anything to say about that?
From the productivity aspect, we didn't really get into that in this discussion, but 50%, 60% better productivity with developers, with sales and marketing campaigns, and how you're able to touch customers. There's just so much goodness out there. So like everything difficult, there's going to be an interesting balance. And I truly look forward to talking to this group again. I've thoroughly enjoyed the last 45 minutes.
Yeah, I would say that there are two aspects in this world. One is living, and the other aspect is giving. So the organizations and businesses are looking at delighting their customers by saying, how easy can I make it for you to do business with us? easy to do business with. And while internally, they're going to look at how easy can I make our employees do things they do on a day-to-day basis. I think these are the two sides, if you look at B2B world, where the technology will completely enable and make it easy to do business with and business at.
I remember a story you might have heard about it. Before the large language models came, there was a robot chatbot that was developed by Microsoft, and it was meant to learn from the tweets and respond to tweets. And they had to take it down in one day after one day because the chatbot learned to be racist. So it all comes to the point that what do we train the AI point? And we know that being racist is a bad thing because it harms the disadvantaged communities. So with all these moral reasons are there, that's a bad thing. So can AI be moral and can learn to be moral? I think that's the big question that needs to be answered.
Yeah, so I think one thing I want to add is that the thought about AI is not necessarily new, right? Because we had some discussion about the pace of technology and things like big data and things like that. But I would say Ron mentioned a book called something about the singularity, right? The singularity is coming. We're already in the age of singularity, but the thing is, we've been talking about the singularity since the 1950s, right? And then when you look at, other leading thinkers at the time, like, Isaac Asimov, who created the I, Robot, series of short stories about books, those were started in the 1940s. And the interesting thing is that a lot of those ideas, I think, are very relevant to the situation that we're in now. When Lenin talks about how humans cannot, agree, and humans will not submit to AI, right? There's a really interesting story by Isaac Asimov where the president of the United States is an AI. And the president of the United States is an AI because, likely because, people thought that they would be living in a better environment if they had a computer making the decisions, like thinking about all the inputs that go into making an optimal decision, right? And the interesting thing about the story was that AI actually had a real big problem because, the AI was trying to optimize the quality of life for all humans. But what it found is that a lot of humans weren't interested in the global optimization program. What they wanted to do is they wanted to locally optimize for their own benefit, right? So the thing is, I think there's two things I want to leave with the team with, is when we look at, philosophically where AI is going and what's happening, right? The leading thinkers of the time were talking about this, 60, 80 years ago, right? So some of those stories are very relevant, I think, to us today. And the other thing is, let's have an open mind about where human society is going to go with this, right? Because, we're getting to the point where we're seeing technology that we haven't seen before, right? So let's keep an open mind and imagine what the future is going to be like, right? And I guess I'll leave one last thing, which is that humans are going to be judged, right? Eventually, if there comes about, another species, some people say AI is going to become a new species that's more intelligent, more capable than humans. Humans are going to be judged on the way we treat one another and the way we treat AIs, right? So when we talk about regulations, the regulations should not just be how the AI should run and operate, but perhaps, how humans should treat the AIs. Like, we just talked about the Microsoft chatbot. How would an intelligent AI view the human training of that chatbot, right? Would that AI think humans were behaving in a desirable manner?
So I just wanted to give a couple of things that are my observations again. This is all time bound because we're all humans. We don't actually know what would happen, but we can only always predict what could happen. Now, does it happen? We still can't agree. Nostradamus is still whatever. So businesses are transactional versus humans who are transformational, right? We transform. We work towards transformational changes. Businesses always, their goal is about transactions. It's about me doing something in return, something to come, okay? Human transactions are different in that they transform in terms of their thinking, why you need to be transformation, why you need to make the transaction. You think in different terms than a business thinks, right? AI today is entirely controlled by businesses. They won't think for humans. They think transactional. They want to know why this AI is going to do what it is doing. Why are they even doing all of these things? Is it for the humans or is it for business transactions to begin with? And then eventually they're hoping that we would do something that is probably humans would like. That is where the thing would always become a conflict. Now, the third that I wanted to talk about, AI is it about big data. That means we are creating this AI today is because we can't process the data that we have around us fast enough to understand what the hell do you need to do. All right? Can you do? And so it's about big data and the data around us, not the deep data. It's about what you are internally as you as a human being, what your thought process is, what your intuition is, what you care, what you don't care. That is not where AI is. And it will take probably another generation, maybe two, for that to get to that level, because right now it's all about, right? AI is not a contextual thing. There was no context in AI. It's all about content. You ask anything, it'll tell you. It's about content, not context. It's still struggling to do that.
I want to thank you all. Very, very, very intriguing conversation. Our next conversation, which we can certainly plot, but there's a lot to talk about. I do want to talk about the jobs, and the fear of jobs. And we touched on some things today, the use of technology and it being usable and the fear around this other thing. I think there's a lot more good coming out of the technology. Lyndon, you just got through saying a couple of really important things, transactional versus transformational. It does pose an idea because as we continue to leverage technology continues to transform based on human transformation as well. So there are a lot of thoughts in this that we can continue unpacking. Most importantly, thank you all for spending your Saturday morning discussing this, and I look forward to our next conversation. Once again, Coach Ron Nash, JSA Global, Get Hired Now Career Academy. I'm here to invite you to join our podcast. It's on all the major platforms. I will continue inviting thought leaders, tech professionals out of the Silicon Valley who know where things are going. My aim is really to dispel any myths, talk about the facts versus fiction. Join us each week for our podcast. Also, let us know what your thoughts are. If there's any other topics you want to hear about, any questions, any concerns, etc. Thank you so much for tuning in.